Awesome. Well, welcome to your breakout. I'm Sarah Gardner. I have facilitated this childcare group from time to time. It's been a hot minute since I've done this, so a little rusty, but I see a lot of familiar and gracious faces. So the purpose of the breakout is to kind of recap what the successes of this group have been, and then open it up for conversation about where a workout or work group, breakout group. We can work out too if you want to do that. No. Okay, good. I didn't really want to, so I appreciate that, the solidarity there. If there's, a specific topic we want to dive into, so most of this will just be brainstorming. I'm going to put the recommendation to remind you guys in the chat. This was the recommendation that I think was made in March. I believe it was approved in March. So just a reminder, the gist of this is that you all recommended, or the folks who are part of this breakout recommended, to issue one-time bonus payments to serve as a little bit of a thank you, and hopefully, fingers crossed, a bit of a retention strategy to support childcare professionals. So this is not a payment to the owner operator. This is a payment to all professionals in the field. I know to get this going, which it has been going, took a lot of different partners at the table. Kelly Davidoff can probably tell you a lot more about the specifics, but we had a partnership, DCF, KDHE, Childcare Aware of Kansas. We had some different strategy folks who came together to try to write what this looked like, how to roll it out. I know it's been rolled out in phases. I believe we are at the space where everyone working in centers and preschools, Head Starts, and family childcare is now eligible to go ahead and access that payment. Kelly, do you remember how much the payment? You probably do. You don't.
Off the top of my head, no, but it kind of depends on whether or not the professional is part-time, full-time, and if they've been working over 6 months or under 6 months. And I think and then there's a separate category for like kinship care providers, basically. So I think it goes from like 750 up to maybe 2,500. Is that? I gotta look it up.
But that shows you the range of the payment that's made to professionals. So it's happening. There's real money going out the door to the tune of, I think, $52 million is what is going to be infused into the pockets of childcare professionals across the state when this is all said and done. So I know there's different processes happening to make it work. Kansas doesn't have a nice, neat way to just contact professionals en masse. That's the work we're doing to build a workforce registry to help support that. So it took a lot of creativity. Thank you, Kelly, for putting that in the chat. So you can kind of see the information, but not an insignificant amount, certainly not the long-term solution for low wages and retention and recruitment for the field. But I think a good match between what this group felt was really important to say, hey, you're valuable, hang in there, hang on if you can, while we continue to think about a longer term wage strategy. So any thoughts or reactions?
Maybe Sarah, I'll just add to, this has been definitely an interesting process. Getting $53 million out to this many individuals. There were over, I think 20,000 individuals that were eligible for the bonus. Has been quite an undertaking. And we're definitely working in partnership, across the state agencies and with Childcare of Kansas. But it's quite a feat. I'll just say that. And while not everything has gone super smooth or necessarily super fast, it's exciting to be part of this and to be able to get the funds to the childcare workforce. And some of the positive feedback we've heard is really, how impactful these funds are to the workforce members. That, we might look at this and say $2,500, that's not that much. It actually is. It can be pretty life-changing for someone who is looking at how to meet rent, or considering the rising costs of food and just basic necessities, and the the inflation that we're facing. So this is still goes quite a long way to supporting our childcare workforce and early care and education providers. So anyway, it's been wonderful to be a part of this project, and we're happy to see the funds getting to those who deserve the appreciation.
Thanks, Kelly.
I was going to see, Kelly, or if anyone else is aware of, for folks that are receiving this bonus, is there kind of any attempts at receiving feedback as to like the impact of that bonus and kind of that, for the providers themselves, just because I think that could be valuable from an advocacy perspective.
We don't have a way to collect impact stories the way we do in some of the other grant processes. This is set up as a really pretty simple form that has to be filled out, and then it's just straight up approved and paid as quickly as our friends at KDHE can get the funds out. So we didn't build a real sophisticated application process. There's not a requirement to submit any kind of impact story or things like that. So what I'm sharing is kind of anecdotal, but yeah, no, I agree with you. It is really helpful from an advocacy perspective. We just kind of needed to get something quick and very, very streamlined up and running in order to get the funds out. So,
Lisa, go ahead.
As a director of a center that has staff that has received these bonuses, the staff's been very grateful. It has taken a little longer than I think we all expected, but they all have been very appreciative of the recognition or the funds that they've received.
Thanks for sharing that, Lisa. Jennifer notes it's the same for Head Start and Early Head Start programs. All right. Good job. Kudos. A moment to celebrate. All right, we have 15 minutes. We're gonna go back to the big group at 10:20 and do a quick share out. So the next 15 minutes are, what would you guys want to tackle next?
Hi, Sarah, this is Aldana.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
So something that we're playing around with, and the fact that, yes, there's been a lot of money going out, a lot of funding, but it really hasn't solved some of the challenges of staffing, et cetera. And so one thing that we used to have in our county, and it was offered just for Spanish speakers, was more or less a course on how to run a business, how to do budgets, how to do contracting, how to do all these business type things that a lot of people that want to start a daycare, they just care about the kids and they really don't know. So in our course that we had in the past was just directed to Spanish speaking only home providers. So we're hoping to maybe get some funding to get that re-implemented. And then I'll share in the bright spots that our county just approved some funding also. So it seems like that would be a great thing to have across the state, as a course for providers that so they actually know what they're getting into when they try to get started. This is the thought.
That sounds to me like a links to quality startup link, but I don't know. Kelly, did you have another thought around that?
Well, I just really appreciate the call out for Spanish speaking providers. That is something that I think we're seeing a lot more energy around. And for those of you that are maybe working with new providers, or just anyone that's interested in joining the profession, with the Childcare Health Consultant Network, we do have bilingual staff that are supporting the recruitment and the startup piece. So I really feel it's important that we think strategically about how to provide all of our services in more than one language. And it's not the same just having an interpreter, right? You know, having actually the ability to engage with a coach or some sort of assisting professional in the preferred language is really important. So if you're running into that, I do have staff that can work directly with Spanish speaking providers in Spanish. But it's kind of fun to see that bubble up. In fact, I even had a discussion with some of our partners at DCF because they're getting, like, on their social media, some questions from Spanish speaking individuals about how do I join? How do I become a childcare provider? And I think that's a really interesting opportunity to be strategic and thinking about how do we capitalize on that energy? How do we create an early childhood system that's welcoming for professionals that may not speak English as their first language? So I don't know what that means for this group, but I really like the emphasis and the thoughts around that. And if there's a way to maybe coordinate as a work group around some strategies there, I think that would be amazing.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, I think just to piggyback off of that, I'm also wondering if it might be helpful maybe on our next meeting to have just kind of an update from, like, DCF. I know was working on their childcare marketing campaign. I just kind of wonder, like, how is that? And then how do we bring all this together? Like, what are we doing here? What are they doing there? How do we create, like, just some, sorry, I'm a hand talker. How do we create some synergy around that? Like, I would kind of just like an update, like, have we seen more people come into the field? Where's that campaign kind of stand? And then also maybe some type of report or just information about what's going on with the work with other partners, like extension offices, the community college. Like, I just don't feel like I have a good idea of where all that stands as far as workforce recruitment pipelines. So I would find that helpful. Or maybe I just need to pay attention a little more. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Oh, that's a great call out, Jennifer. Go ahead, Kim.
Had to get all my clicking in place to take my hand down and my mute off. So I was just going to piggyback onto what Jennifer's comments. I think that those are really good points. And it would be good to hear from the folks on the DCF side that have been working on the marketing campaign to see where things are at with that. So, and then also, you know, just how we can connect with other community partners. While those bonuses are appreciated and they're wonderful, we know we can't continue that. So how else can we appeal to the workforce? And so I really feel like those marketing campaigns are where it's at. You know, how do you appeal to people? Why would they want to be interested in early childhood if you're not going to get rich? You know, and, you know, just that kind of maybe outreach, and also even looking at avenues of, you know, connecting with high schools and, you know, some of those career and tech ed programs as well. So I guess those are just my thoughts there. I will say you become rich in your heart when you work with young children, right? That's where it's at.
Thanks, Kim. That makes a lot of sense. Kelly, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a dual strategy. Like the marketing and the awareness piece is part of it, but then I think also doing direct work at the community level to recruit new professionals. We've been trying to tackle that, I think, in a couple of different ways, either through like the community outreach and engagement work and working with community-based coalitions, and then also across our CCR and our network, having those recruitment and startup CCHCs in communities at events, collecting information from prospective childcare providers, following up, encouraging, supporting through the licensing process, getting them connected to the concrete supports behind that. And even though those might not be available long-term, even having someone there to support and to answer questions, I think has been pretty fun to see, and partnering with communities to do those things is even more powerful. I don't know. I think there's lots of ways we could think about it.
So one of the things I'm hearing is kind of an update on all the different activities that are going on to support childcare recruitment and retention efforts. I know, Logan, you put some stuff about the cost modeling in the chat that some folks at our team are doing. There's a professional development implementation team, which is working on a career pathway, which also is a really critical recruitment tool, I would say. How does somebody come from the high school space and start? How does somebody come from the college space and jump in? How does someone come from another field to come into early childhood? So that pathway is, we certainly have updates to share on the pathway. Amy called out the registry. That work is happening slowly but surely, which will be impactful. I also noted DCF has a marketing campaign. KDHE is also doing a very small targeted childcare licensing focused effort. So not just become a childcare provider, but become a licensed childcare provider. And here are the benefits to being a licensed provider. So very small, very targeted, very complementary. K-State Extension, what are they doing? I also think we could ask KDHE for some updated numbers. So where are we at? I had heard anecdotally from a state directors meeting that there might be, they're having an uptake in licensed or background check applications. So that is a sign of more professionals coming into the field. So what does that trend data look like? Just to see where we're at. I'd also want to flag ECE shared resources, which will be a new support coming out of the Department for Children and Families, which will be a site or a couple pages, I would say, web pages devoted to offering shared resources for childcare providers. Think templates, curriculum, stuff that, how to build a business plan, maybe not the how, but the templates and access to those things. So and then of course, Kelly, the Communities in Action coalitions, the community partnership grants, which are helping support community level solutions. Might be good to just get a rundown of all of those things before this group figures out where it might want to plug in. Does that seem? What else is on your mind as it relates to this topic?
Sarah, as I'm listening to everybody kind of talk about all the things that are happening, launching, being tried, I'm wondering if maybe we spend time as a work group, like learning, getting the updates, hearing what's happening, and then work on sort of a strategy. Like, how do we align all of it and make sure that we're flying forward together? And not, flying off into the sides. Like I have this weird version of like herd of cats versus geese flying. So I'm sorry, it's a Friday morning, but maybe there's an opportunity to just kind of align all these efforts and figure out like if Logan's doing this piece, I don't want to do that piece. I want to support and complement, but I have a role to play maybe over here, for example. So how do we kind of bring some synergy around this and actually then have some shared metrics? Like what are we hoping to see as a result of all these things that we're trying out or that we're doing across the agencies or the organization partners in the system too. So maybe that could be like a start of a bigger recruitment and retention strategy document for our system.
I love that, Kelly. And noting Jennifer, yes, visuals are always good to help keep all the pieces in line. Lisa, go ahead.
We are discussing the business piece attached to childcare. And as a director of a center that has been in the community for 50 years, one of the pieces that there have been some times in the last year or two that I've said, okay, what do we need to change to address the needs of the community? Sometimes you get very myopic in your view of what's going on, and supports from outside where they know the regulation, they understand curriculum. Some centers or organizations may need those kinds of helps, not only recruiting staff, but running the business. Am I making sense?
I think so. I'd love to hear you keep going though, like share some more.
Well, for instance, I am in a community where we are licensed for 2.5 and potty trained, and we get constant calls for toddlers. So do you totally change your program, add that age group? What are the needs of the community? There's a big business piece to this, and we want folks that only that are focused on the children that they're caring for. But those are the folks that struggle to run the business. And the world changes and you're focusing on children, and then your business goes away. There are two pieces here that, and workforce is the biggest issue attached to it. Trying to hire folks that A, want to do it, and B, don't want it to be a stop point while they're doing something else. I'm in a center where my best staff, they're college students and they're education majors. Well, they are a 2 or 3 year commitment and then they're gone.
Sounds like, Lisa, you're talking about a broader sort of ecosystem understanding. What are the needs of the community? How are we positioning our business to be viable? Childcare as a viable offering for the changing needs of the community, and then you as a business owner making sure that you have workers kind of
Correct.
in the pipeline who are understanding what those needs are, perhaps.
Correct. And I'm fortunate that I work for a nonprofit, so my position is different than if I own the business. It's owned by an organization, but I'm not so sure that some of this doesn't need to be community effort in interaction with the chambers. I mean, this is a very basic need, but there are more issues than just workforce attached to it.
I appreciate that, Lisa. Looking at the time, Eldana, go ahead with I assume you want to respond to that.
Yeah, so there's one thought when she was talking about understanding the needs of the community. Most health departments, most local health departments do a community health assessment of some sort. And if it's a really small community, it might be done through your local hospital, because hospitals are required to do community health assessments if they're nonprofit. So that might be one way to help get some of that data you're looking for. I realize I'm in a big county, but we do that every 3 years. And it kind of provides those things, and it lets you know how many kids are there and how many are saying they're in need of daycare. And then that kind of gives you at least some data to work from. So one thought.
Thanks, Aldana. I've captured some of this, and I will be happy to share for a couple minutes when we go back to the big group. And then I look forward to, I'll send the notes to you guys as well, and then we'll look forward to an ongoing conversation. So it's good to see you all, and I'll see you back in the big group.